I arrived in the driveway shortly after dawn, stones grinding beneath the wheels. My work period had stretched on without incident, filled largely with forms and a pair of small household disputes. All was routine save for the building ache in my head from insufficient rest, and the soreness along my rib from the bulletproof gear worn through the darkness. I fantasized about fluffy eggs, a steaming rinse and possibly, if fortune favored me, a quick gaze shared with my spouse. Yet the instant I stepped through the entrance, I sensed I'd arrived past the point. Cashin had gotten ready already. My spouse positioned himself by the reflection, securing the wrists of a fitted top, strands still moist from his dawn cleanse. "You're awake ahead of schedule," I mentioned, draping my gear strap on the peg. He avoided my gaze. "Appointment with a customer downtown. Have to dodge the rush." "Meal?" I inquired, unsure why I persisted these days. He snatched his computer case, snagged a bite returning from the workout spot. Naturally. Certainly, he'd visited the fitness center since he forever found stamina for exercise. Simply not for us. I suggested we discuss the upcoming days off. Perhaps escape for one. "Not possible this time." He brushed the space beside my face with a peck. Afterward. Afterward remained his go-to term. Handy, unclear, empty. While he departed, I lingered in the vacant corridor and heard the soft snap of the exit shutting after him. Next, I headed to the cooking area and almost bumped into Mara Gold. Cashin's mom positioned herself shoeless at the surface, her scent already heavy in the atmosphere. She sported a citrus-hued top, crimson lip color at 9 in the morning, and a cover with tiny stitched berries. A tart mixture simmered on the burner. She glanced back. "Greetings, sweetheart. I assumed you lacked the opportunity to prepare." I paused in surprise. "How did you enter?" She displayed the extra opener. "Cashin provided it to me long back." "Didn't he mention it?" "No," I replied, moving beyond her tiredly. "He hadn't." "You're overdoing the labor, Celine." She spooned a portion into a nicked pottery dish. "You ought to relax. Consume." I examined the mixture. A cloudy emerald fluid that carried a subtle aroma of anise and corrosion. "What's in it?" "Merely a simple plant remedy." She grinned. "Beneficial for females such as yourself." My gut churned. I hadn't taken a seat so far. It began modestly. She'd drop by without notice a time or two weekly. Soon it became 4 straight occasions. In time, it grew simpler to anticipate her presence. She reorganized the shelves, tidied my clothes, chided me for excess caffeine, and began delivering her own meals. When I protested, she'd respond, "I'm simply assisting. You obviously lack the moments to act as a partner." Her phrases resembled sugar-dipped pins. "You realize Cashin's advancing in years," she remarked one midday, cutting vegetables as if performing an operation. "Males possess requirements, and if you fail to provide an offspring shortly, another could." I nipped my inner lip. "I'm not aiming to upset," she went on. "It's merely nature. And honestly, you're not becoming fresher yourself." I stayed silent. I merely cleaned my cup and exited the space. I declined to weep before her. The signs emerged stealthily. Initially, it was slight queasiness following supper. Then arrived the lightheadedness, the weariness. My sight fogged on the highway one dawn, and I almost struck a car from behind. I began omitting dishes, wishing it would fade. "You're appearing wan," Mara Gold observed, offering me yet another hot mug of whatever she concocted. "Sip. It'll aid one evening." Following a 12-hour duty and zero hunger, I dropped onto the sofa. Cashin viewed athletics, legs atop the surface, Bruin grasp. "I believe I require a medical check," I whispered. "An issue exists." He didn't shift his focus from the display. "You're likely merely fatigued. You don't find it odd that I fall ill after each dish your parent prepares?" He exhaled. "Are we truly engaging in this?" She's attempting to support. "Perhaps if you weren't so rigid constantly." "I'm rigid because I retch every day, Cashin." He silenced the broadcast and pivoted toward me. "You desire to ignite a dispute after laboring through the dark?" I wish to understand why I'm viewed as a breeder who fails to produce. That's when his manner shifted. The affection, artificial as it appeared, vanished. "Don't you presume to fling that at me," he snarled. "You behave as if you're solely the drained one." You believe your position entitles you to neglect duties here. I'm not neglecting. You're worthless in this place, he barked. You don't prepare meals, don't tidy, and evidently you can't even bear a child. The area fell silent. Then, as though to emphasize his fury, he seized the pottery container from the low stand and flung it through the space. It shattered on the barrier, fragments scattering over the timber floor like debris. I remained still. I merely gazed at the shattered bits and urged myself not to weep. Not immediately. 2 days on, I received a task to support a neighboring station beyond the boundary. Merely 2 full days. The distance resembled fresh air. During the latter day, I recalled I'd forgotten my credential holder, the one containing my emblem, papers, and audio device, on the foyer surface at residence. I returned that dusk, wishing Cashin was absent. The parking spot stood vacant. Illumination glowed within. As I rotated the lock gently, I spotted an additional set of footwear near the threshold. Marigolds. I nearly departed. Nearly. But then I caught the sounds. She's certainly feebler, stated Marigold. Cashin relaxed as a leisurely meal. Ceased consuming much the prior week. It's effective. Cashin's tone held humor. Informed you it concerned the amount. She's likely too exhausted to doubt a thing. Coverage representative contacted once more. Marigold noted. You must complete the forms by week's end if you seek the funds this period. She'll vanish by then, he stated nearly joyfully. And we'll each gain liberty. I positioned in the passage, pulse racing. Then I extended gradually into my satchel and retrieved the electronic logger I toted constantly, a routine from seasons in service. My fingers trembled, but I activated capture. Within they persisted conversing. You believe she doubts a thing? She's a patrol officer. Cashin chuckled. Issues violations for stopping and guides vehicles. She lacks the intellect to detect this. I can't await the conclusion. Marigold contributed. I'm weary of observing her stagger like an undead. Pitiful. I retreated 1 pace, then another. My legs threatened to give, but my hold on the logger firmed. Cashin aired. He hadn't troubled to inquire what my actual role entailed nowadays, and he was on the verge of discovering. By the moment I arrived at my vehicle, my fingers had ceased quivering. My mind hadn't. Cashin's sound repeated endlessly in my thoughts, that arrogant, empty chuckle as he labeled me merely a patrol officer. The manner Marigold discussed me as if I were buried already. I clutched the driving control so firmly my joints popped. But I didn't return to the station. Not immediately. Rather, I traveled to a modest, unlabeled structure in the manufacturing zone. An auxiliary site where we handled matters too delicate for the primary unit. I showed my pass, proceeded through the protection barriers, and secured myself in questioning Space B. Then I set the logger on the surface and triggered playback. The tones rang out as vivid as sunlight. She's certainly feebler. Coverage funds. She's merely a vehicle guide. I halted it. Then I tagged the document Monroe Toxin Core Proof, because now it became formal. I wasn't solely a target. I was an accuser in my personal offense matter. The following dawn, I entered the serious offenses section at 8:03 a.m. and delivered the logger to lead examiner Myers. He heard it once, then repeatedly, then gazed at me with somber comprehension. You certain regarding this? I affirmed. I felt unwell for weeks. Commenced near the period Marigold started preparing for me consistently. He reclined. You wish to launch this as a departmental matter or via killings? Neither, I stated. We direct it through lab offenses. Discreetly. I'm not chancing them detecting and erasing signs. You desire monitoring? No, I stated I desire proof. Pure, solid, tangible confirmation. Let's begin with my fluids. That midday, I positioned in the facility while Dr. Clean, our primary lab poison expert, extracted 2 tubes from my limb. She eyed me inquisitively as she marked them. Is this for an investigation you're handling? I offered her a strained grin. Along those lines. It required 72 hours for outcomes. During that span, I returned to the house, acted ordinary, and kept distant from Marigold's dishes. I discarded her remedies in the drain, and disposed of anything dubious. Cashin scarcely observed. He was occupied laboring extended, encountering associates, overseeing funds. One evening, I passed his workspace and noticed his portable device exposed, video chat active still. A female in scarlet undergarments bent toward the lens and uttered, "Return shortly, darling." He hadn't even troubled to shut the window. When the facility document arrived, it verified what I sensed already. Minor levels of phenacetin, a prohibited substance formerly employed as a reliever, but recognized to induce renal collapse and malignancy with extended contact. Forbidden, hazardous, identifiable. Dr. Clean appeared astonished. "You certain you don't wish to file accusations now?" "Shortly," I stated, "very shortly." 3 days on, I received another boon from destiny. Officer Colby, a longtime acquaintance from vehicle duties, messaged me deep into the night. "Hey, was your spouse at Juno Lounge last Friday?" I gazed at the display. Pretty sure I spotted him intoxicated with some girl arm around her yelling, "This is my girl." Got it. Colby dispatched a fuzzy mobile image. And there he appeared. Cashin, flushed, top disheveled, enveloped around a female who seemed barely 25. Her palm rested on his torso. I requested if Colby would draft a declaration. He consented. I didn't weep. I didn't even flinch. I merely reproduced the picture and inserted it into a dossier tagged Cashin Private Proof. The identical dossier that now encompassed toxin analysis, sound captures, images of the unmarked container I located in the seasoning shelf, and now proof of infidelity and reason. On a serene Sunday midday, Cashin returned with blooms and a smile. "You seem improved," he remarked, brushing my face, finally getting some downtime. I affirmed. "I've been pondering," he proceeded, extracting a fresh pale packet. "With all occurring, perhaps we ought to think about coverage for existence just in case." He presented the documents. "It's via my company. Straightforward, uncomplicated. If anything occurred to you, I'd at minimum manage to, you understand, handle matters." I examined the agreement, my title inscribed at the head, a substantial 6-digit amount beneath it. Recipient, Cashin. "I'm uncertain," I murmured gently. "It's somewhat grim, right?" "It's sensible," he pressed. "Your occupation is perilous. You're constantly endangered. What if you failed to return?" I met his gaze. "Would you fret if something befell me?" He grinned. "Naturally I would." I continued gazing, allowed the quiet to expand. Then I grasped a writing tool. That evening, I positioned at my workstation, examining my personal dossier. I wasn't permitted to probe relatives. There existed regulations, limits. But this wasn't merely relatives. It was effort at slaying. I examined the dossier tagged Celine Departmental Matter Monroe Residence. Then I appended a fresh sheet. Coverage reason verified. Recipient urging target. Agreement secured under pressure. 3 days on, I reached home from a duty and discovered Marigold already within arranging broth containers. "Figured I'd astonish you," she remarked. "You've been toiling so diligently." "Appreciate it," I replied. I avoided the utensil. She angled her skull. "You appear weary." Extended period. She positioned opposite me, clasping her palms like a religious instructor. "I realize you and Cashin have grown apart, but you must comprehend. Males require bonding. If they fail to obtain it from their partners, they seek it outside." I glanced upward. Her gaze sparkled. Someone fresher. Less demanding. The atmosphere in the space grew keen. My abdomen constricted. "You're stating that as if you're aware of details," I remarked. "Oh dear," she sneered. "Mothers forever know." I maintained her gaze over the surface. "Mothers forever know," she repeated, twirling her utensil leisurely, arrogantly. The space sensed denser, more confined, as if the atmosphere had solidified to crystal. I rose calmly. "No eruption, no spectacle." "I'll return momentarily," I uttered, tone subdued. She didn't halt me. She doubted nothing. I proceeded along the corridor to my workspace. The one she forever assumed was for document submission and unit notes. I released the storage unit, extended behind the compartment, and extracted the tan-hide dossier I'd concealed there. Beside it, my unit portable, I transported both back to the cooking area. Marigold remained positioned, tweaking the settings like a refined innkeeper. Her gaze shifted to the dossier. "What's that?" she inquired, tone level. Now I set all items softly on the surface amid us. You desired to learn how apart Cashin and I are, I remarked. Allow me to demonstrate. I unfolded the dossier and arranged the items meticulously. The facility-verified toxin document. The reproduced record of their dialogue from that evening. A frozen image of Cashin and Nina at Juno Lounge. Limbs encircled one another. A certified declaration from a colleague enforcer who observed the event. Her sneer faltered. Appears like abundant documents. I activated playback on my portable. She's been growing feebler. Soon she'll diminish. Secure the coverage, her complexion paled. You captured us, she murmured. I'm not merely an enforcer, I remarked, observing her fidget. I'm an investigator in serious offenses. I gather details, proof, reason. I understand how to construct an accusation. I understand how to inter one too. But you're not deserving that politeness. She parted her lips, then sealed them. There existed no arrogance now. No dominance, just the constricting spasm of a female who comprehends she gravely misjudged her adversary. The entrance swung. Cashin entered bearing his exercise sack and a nutrient drink. Hey love, he summoned. You're back ahead. Then he noticed the surface, the portable, the dossier. Me and his parent. Oh, what's happening? You're precisely on schedule, I remarked, aligning myself. We were reviewing the peaks of your disloyalty. His features darkened. Celine, what on earth is this? An admission from you both. Captured aligned with tangible proof. Observer account. Lab verification. I rotated the portable toward him and triggered playback once more. His personal tone poured from the audio. She's a patrol enforcer. She'll never uncover it. His gaze expanded. You were monitoring me. I was enduring you, I remarked. He advanced, extending for the portable. The dossier, an item, but I outpaced him. I whirled behind him, pulled his arm upward behind his spine, and thrust him torso first against the cooler with one managed action. My joint secured his lower spine as I retrieved my restraints. You're under residence detention, I stated icily, awaiting official accusations. What the devil, Celine? You attempted to end me. I murmured in his auditory. And you weren't even smart about it. Marigold lifted from her seat, alarmed now. This is insanity. You're exaggerating this. You tainted me, I remarked without pivoting. That's not exaggeration. That's major effort at killing. I didn't insert anything in your meals. You delivered materials that induced verified tissue strain. You instructed your offspring to conclude a existence coverage agreement. You comprehended precisely what he schemed and you promoted it. That renders you a collaborator. Marigold retreated toward the passage. I pivoted, still clasping Cashin with one limb, and yelled toward the entrance. Don't even contemplate fleeing. She halted. I gazed at her, and for the initial instant since I wed her offspring, she ultimately appeared terrified of me. 15 minutes on, 2 patrol vehicles reached. I'd already summoned via the protected line we held for enforcer-linked home disputes. Cashin remained restrained, fuming quietly. Marigold was positioned in the edge of the lounging space, twisting her digits and whispering softly. When the enforcers arrived, I provided them all. The proof dossier, the toxin overview, the sound documents, the observer account. They examined them all gradually, attentively. And then they detained both Cashin and Marigold. She sobbed. He gazed at me as if I were the betrayer. I uttered nothing. The area prosecutor didn't delay. Accusations submitted, effort at slaying, major level B, plot to perform killing, deceitful coverage acquisition, contaminated meal item spread. Cashin forfeited his money permit and was excluded by every primary company in the area. His arrest photo reached the media within 2 days. Marigold's title surged under the title, Mother-in-law from the Abyss. Nina, of course, vanished on him. No fidelity amid leeches. My separation concluded in 14 days. I submitted a non-criminal action for mental harm, health costs, and deceitful pressure. Their legal rep proposed a deal. I requested $20,000 apiece and obtained it. Minor cost for endurance. 1 month on, I positioned shoeless in my now tranquil cooking space, the panes ajar, breeze flowing through fresh drapes. No plant broths, No arrogant remarks, no dense aroma clinging to the furnishings. Merely me, merely serenity. On the cooler, I affixed an adhesive memo that stated, "Never misjudge a female in attire." The entry chime sounded. I opened it to discover a simple packet from the unit. Within, matter dossier. Suspected tainting in another residence. Identical scheme, identical reluctance from the target. Distinct female, distinct location, but the identical tale. I inserted the dossier into my carrier and verified my armament.